Hey, I'm Devin Allen at the BMA for the hip hop show. Hope you love it. I wanted to sit down with some of my friends and family, just talk about the culture, the influence of hip hop in Baltimore. Man, we here. It's been an amazing time recording this. I hope everybody love it when you see it. This is the hip hop show. I'm so excited to be a part of this exhibition that's going to travel. And when this show, when this opportunity came to work on this project with the BMA and be a part of it, I was real adamant about Baltimore. And this is how small Baltimore is for people who don't know about Baltimore. This is my cousin. I did not know this was my cousin. and I'm sitting here with, man, tell them who I'm sitting with, cuzzo.
Man, you sitting here with Akio Akio and the man's Evans from East Baltimore, born and raised.
I'm from West, but we can talk about that later in another episode. Man, we here for the hip hop show, and I really wanted you here because you essentially are part of the DNA in Baltimore of our generation. But
Indeed.
We had D. Watkins, Condwani, DDM, and Nate, and I'm watching all y'all interact behind the scenes and how that's hip hop history. You're a part of it. But what was your earliest hip hop moment? Because we're around the same age, a little bit older than me, but I talked about Master P, the Last Dawn, which was one of my first cassette tapes, the clean version in the boom box.
Yeah.
But I had tapes and cassettes that I recorded off my boom box 92 key. That was our thing. But what was your first hip hop, moment?
I want to say my first hip hop moment, because me and my family, me and my siblings, my mother tried to shield us as much as she can with just listening to mainstream hip hop. But when you're in the neighborhood, it don't even matter. It's going to seep through. But I want to say one of my first hip hop moments was with DMX. You know what I'm saying? Because it was already rumored that DMX was already in Baltimore. People would talk about him, Earl. They would talk about him already in the community. But when his first album had came out,
Dog
is Hella Hot.
Yeah,
man, my mother, she loved DMX too. So I was surprised when she got me the posters, you know what I mean, and all that, the Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood, and the first album. So I was like really like, and then she didn't even mind when I was like saying some of his lyrics, you know what I mean? But that and Busta Rhymes, with Tribe Called Quest and all that other stuff was just one of the joints.
We're gonna jump straight in there. You talk about DMX and you share with me, you got where the new generation, where people, they consider relics, right? I know you, visionary artist, you do a lot of different things, but you were documenting Baltimore in the club.
Indeed.
You were ingrained, you were part of it, and you got a tape right here that you filmed of DMX and Bone Thugs. Let's talk about these relics and let's talk about that point in your life where you were the eyes on the ground for a lot of the hip hop culture.
Well, it started like in, you say be transparent, so that's one of the things that you say, right?
Transparency.
So
it's awful.
Man, this is a high 8 camera, and this is one of the first cameras that I've actually owned. This was actually taken from Target. I was 16. I would relocate. I was in charge of electronics, so I always wanted my first cameras. And back in the day, as far as DMX, how Connie said that hip hop would kind of guide us when we didn't have some of us didn't have fathers. So it was one of the lyrics that DMX said. Get at me, Doug, when he's talking about, he was like, what must I go through to show you this shit is real? And I ain't really never give a fuck how niggas feel. I rob and I steal, not because I want to, because I have to. And
don't
that
make me
show
have to show
what
you.
that matter. So that's how I felt throughout my whole, from teenager's life to my adult life. I felt like I didn't want to do it, but if I didn't have it, I take it. And being know that, it's funny how life works, because this is a cassette tape of Bone Thugs and DMX. And when I was on a run, one of the places that I traveled to was Spokane, Washington. I had Warrenton, Phoenix, Arizona, and then and DMX was in Phoenix too. And came back to Baltimore, but I always had to duck and make sure that I wasn't necessarily going to get nabbed by the police. But then I wasn't ready to do my time, so I traveled and I went to Spokane, Washington, and that's where the very first day I took a Greyhound, man, and I would never forget that moment. That was a brutal moment. I was on the ground for about 4 days. Everything you can imagine I seen on this Greyhound. But anyway, make a long story short, I would always make shirts, and I would took these screen grabs of the Belly the Belly movie, and me and my friend Jazz, who I didn't know was my cousin as well, we would always quote Belly, and I put like the scenes of the blue Belly Dickie shirt. I put it on an actual on the Dickie shirt, and my friend Tony, he was like, yo, I want you to meet DMX. He's in town right now. And I was like, Tony, look, I just got off the ground, Doug. I don't feel like doing nothing. I just want to go to sleep. He said, nah, wear the Belly Dickie shirt. I'm about to pick you up right now. DMX and Bone Thugs in the town with Tech Nine. Come through. So anyway, make a long story short, I met DMX, and I remember he was inside this restaurant, and it was dark in the restaurant. Only thing I can remember seeing was glistening was his chain. He had two chains on. He had his dog chain, and he had the icy chain. And Tony had, he wanted some weed, so Tony had, he said he was about to whip it out right there, but DMX was like, nah, let's go to the back. So we went to the back, and then Tony was like, here, man, but I want to introduce you to Akio. He made this Dickie shirt that he has on right now. And DMX acted like he ain't even hear what Tony said, because Tony was white or whatever. He was like, well, whatever, Doug. He said, yo, Doug, where you get that shirt from, Doug? And I said, man, I made it, man. This is the Dickie shirt that I made. He said, Doug. He said, let me get that off your back, Doug. And I say, at the time, it was this popular commercial that came out with Michael Jordan who talked about the bacon neck t-shirt. Yeah. And I had underneath the shirt, like this, underneath the Belly Dickie shirt, I didn't have a shirt that I felt confident in that I wanted to wear.
But you gave it to him?
No, I didn't.
You didn't give it to him?
I wish I would have, Doug. I wish I would have. And yeah.
No, but now we're talking about Belly, and we've touched on this. I talked to Connie about this, that hip hop seeps into culture and, acting and fashion. And I'm glad you brought up Belly, which is one of the most iconic intros to a movie, bar none. You got Nas, DMX, walking through the club with that blue light.
Yes.
And it just was iconic. But you touched on it, you made clothes, you had the shirt, you could have gave the DMX, you didn't. But let's talk about fashion, because fashion, hip hop seeps into that. Let's talk about that because, we talk about early hip hop moments. I asked DM the same thing. He brought up 2004. For me, I was white teed out. Early hip hop moments, but what hip hop person influenced how you dressed?
I'm gonna say Andre 3000 inspired
3 Stacks.
me. 3 Stacks.
You wasn't dressing like 3 Stacks.
I wasn't though.
For you, when we talk about fashion now, Andre 3000 was Young Thug before it was Young Thug. Everybody talk about Young Thug got on a dress. Yo, Andre 3000 in one video had a football shoulder pads and like some crazy pants. He was ahead. Yes. He was in space. But
you say 2004. That's when in 2001 I was always making like stuff. So I made like these NBA patch jeans that I seen. I was in high school.
Oh yeah, all the patches.
But I made that before it came out. And my sister, she played for Gatorade. She was Gatorade Maryland Player of the Year. She would Hawaii. She would wear the skirt that I would make that had the NBA patches on there. And I remember when the Old Boy first came out. Old Boy video came out.
Cameron and Jewel.
People was calling me on my house phone. They're like, "Yo, Keys, that's your design." Because when I was making it, I was in high school, and my cousin Jazz, he was like, "Yo, I seen him wear these baseball jeans that this football player that made for him," and I was like, "Yo, where you get them from?" He said, "Yo, all man did was use a puffy paint and glue gun," and I said, "Yo, I'm gonna get him to make mine." So I got my sheets that my mother had got me at the time, and she was mad because she wasn't even finished paying off the sheets that she got from this creditor joint. And I gave him my sheets, and he only gave me back 5 NBA teams. I said, it was more teams than NBA.
I gave you 5 teams.
And so then when I got upset, Jazz was like, "Yo, make it yourself." Yeah. Went home, as Dapper Dan says in his book, I scienced it out, and I made my own jeans, and I was in business. People the cafeteria is like your runway. It's like a fashion runway. You got people at the time
grinding.
Yes.
If you didn't bang on the cafeteria table and grinding go hand in hand.
It does.
But as I talk to everybody today, part of this project, which is oddly enough, The Wire has influenced hip hop, right? And that's Baltimore culture. And we at the BMA, so I wanted to make sure that Baltimore was put on the forefront as we talk about hip hop, because we are vital and important to the culture and to the history. You filmed and recorded and got one of the most influential characters on The Wire, Snoop. If you listen to King Von, I'm crouching on, like Snoop off The Wire, and let's talk about that because The Wire has a lot of impact on the history of Baltimore. Let's talk about that.
Man, The Wire, I remember when, I didn't even watch The Wire when it first came out because, like I said, I had warrants. I was in Phoenix, Arizona.
You was living it.
Yeah.
You was living The Wire.
Yeah.
In a sense.
And when I was in Phoenix, people was like, yo, dog, they would ask me, cause they would say, yo, is those buildings props? And I was like, what? I said, no, that's not props. But then at the time, I didn't even watch The Wire to know what they were talking about. But when but it's funny because when I was finally went to Spokane, and my friends would still send me like DVDs, the bootlegs, and I seen Snoop for the first time walking through the what's the name, the Home Depot joint.
Oh yeah, when you got the nail gun
yeah,
for the vacant house.
Yes,
Yep.
and I was like, yo, I gotta go back home. Went back home, and I applied on Craigslist to be an extra, and I got on set. And me and Snoop, we were already in connection because I knew her cousin. And but yeah, back in the day, I would. It's funny because a lot of people say the same shirts that I would make. Every shirt that I made, I met the person. Like I made the DMX. I put DMX on the Dickie shirt. I met DMX. I put, before I even watched any of the Wire episodes, I was still screen grab because people in Seattle was asking for Wire shirts. So I was watching, screen grabbing the shirts at the time, and then I met Snoop. Dave Chappelle, I got footage of me with my rose gold fronts, top and bottoms, and I got Dave Chappelle and Donna Rollins on the shirts that I screen grabbed from the what's that, the Chappelle show, and I wound up meeting Chappelle. So it's like hip hop and just shirts and intertwined in everything, man.
Everything.
Yeah, indeed.
Everything. So, you bring up Dave Chappelle, and I remember watching the Chappelle show, and like that's how I became a fan of Yazzie Bey, Mos Def.
Yes.
Comedy. Hip hop is more than music. We say it's more than rap, but let's say is you, Donnell Rawlings, Dave Chappelle, and for some reason, DMX in the backseat. I don't know why, but they say, Akio, put us on with some Baltimore hip hop. You got one song, and if it's horrible, we cutting it off. So you gotta pick one hip hop song. It gotta come out of Baltimore. Kandwani talked about, he's playing, Moose. D said Moose. I think DDM went back to Smash. How does it feel? That's Tina Marie. What you playing for Dave Chappelle, Donnell Rawlings, and you got DMX in the backseat, and you got the aux cord right now? Or the Bluetooth,
Bluetooth, yeah.
Some people still got aux cords. I got a Bluetooth, but you got the Bluetooth. What you playing? Gotta be from Baltimore hip hop.
It's so many people I could select, even my close friends, but just because I gotta represent East Baltimore, I'm gonna go with D Dave. I'm gonna go with D Dave, and I'm gonna explain it, and then I'll actually go with D Dave. And if I do want to show them West Baltimore, because a lot of people still West Baltimore was on the forefront of a lot of things. And talk about Pepper, aka Freddie Gray, you talk about all that. I would have to highlight, somebody from West Baltimore, and it would be one of my other close friends, Greenspan.
Greenspan, another goat.
So yeah, those two, just to show them a different nine, just because we can go Young Moose, shout out to Moose. You know what I'm saying? That's he got my last name Evans. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I would show him a different.
Shout out to rest in peace, D Dave.
Rest in peace.
I'm excited about the show because I have a photo of him in the show too. Wow. That's a part of the catalog. One of my favorite rappers and good friend of mine also. And love Greenspan. That's the bro. Another amazing artist.
And another thing
one of the GOAT.
We thought I'll just share with you. We was at the R House. My cousin Jazz was like, "Yo, did you know that Dave is your cousin? Because he's my cousin." So Baltimore, dog.
Baltimore, man. I appreciate it. Pulling up.
I appreciate you,
being a part of this. Appreciate you, cousin.
Appreciate you. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.